Okay, well, let's hope. Let's hope this is working. I should check my phone, see if it actually comes through. Okay. I didn't make a starting screen for this, so the starting screen is just my face. So have fun with that. Let me quickly pull up this. Nope, that's not it. Let me quickly share the stream back to the Discord channel so that people know that we're here and chatting, and then I'll get underway. Not expecting a lot of traffic. I'm kind of just going to chat for about an hour about GCW and pretty much all things considered when it comes to GCW. Quickly grab a share link here. Artie! Or Tyler! Or Arthur! Otherwise known as the Perla guy. Otherwise known as my other face sometimes, because some people seem to think that we are the same person, which is a storyline that would be really funny to do. Tell us all the secrets. Oh, I have so many secrets that I could tell you. Hang on one second. Before I get distracted and turn away from the Discord with the link. And is the chat working? I don't know why. Like, the first chat never shows up in the chat box. I don't know why. That's beside the point. Let's go up here to wrong Discord server. To official announcements. And we'll just go ahead and drop that again. We are live. Exclamation mark. But I'm not going to worry about pinging anybody because I don't want to do that to people. All right. Leave my phone open for that extra view because, it makes myself feel special. No costume today. I need to stop looking over here. I wish I could move the chat box to the main screen, but I didn't do that. I've never figured out how to do that. So, this episode of Raincloud. Oh, I didn't say that right. Episode of Let's Talk GCW. I've been kind of wanting to do these for a little bit again because I kind of had fun last time I've done some of these, but I've been letting the regular podcast kind of take over. Quick, wake up the chat bot. Is it working? Kind of working. I need to move. Maybe it's getting obstructed by the. I can't move Liana's things down any farther. What is showing? Oh, that's a hollow effect that I turned off. Okay, yeah, that's technical difficulties. Me never, every time. Okay. I will give you one secret, Tyler. I have discovered in my daily writing, what would you call that? In my daily writings for GCW, I have discovered some extra lore for the Mousen system that I had previously made a little note on and then forgot about. And today I rediscovered that note this morning and was like, oh yeah. I forgot that I put that planet out here in this system because I finished up the sector map for Liana to make pretty, like this map right here next to me in the Bolivar system map. Because I'm in the process of making sector maps for each of our fields, so they'll have a actual map to work with. So we can give that to players. Like, this is where you are, and then you can show them the galaxy map, and this is where that is, and it's just that fun fluff that we get to do in the GCW community that actually has zero bearing on the story at large. Like, the players' experiences are not benefited really by the fact that I've made a map for the planets in that sector, but I think they're cool. So that's what you get. Dastardly. I wouldn't say dastardly. It's all part of my evil plan. I do like that, Artie. I think you're the only one who said anything in the discussion chat. What is the long-term hopes and dreams for the galaxy and story? That is a topic that I could sit here for hours and discuss, because I have this discussion with myself every day when I drive to work, because I have a 45-minute commute to work and a 45-minute commute back. And about half of those commutes are on GCW. Probably, actually more like 60% of my commutes is talking about GCW. And then another half again of that is all history based, and then I just have like 3 or 4 a month where I just sit there and just drive to work or back to work, and I don't say a word. Those are the long days. But so my long-term hopes and dreams for the entirety of GCW. Well, one is actually coming true. I've been wanting the longer format of GCW for a little while now. I've kind of been slightly pushing some of the admins in that direction, going, hey, I think we should go a little bit longer. We need more time to play. That was one of the downsides to Bolivar, the last Bolivar event, in my opinion, Echoes Resolve, because as an event coordinator, I looked at the amount of hours of actual game time that we had, and then the stories that we were going to try to tell, and realized the times didn't help. There was not almost not enough time to tell all the stories that we wanted to do. So that was kind of a struggle. This time it's the opposite. Now I have so much time, I'm concerned that I won't fill it properly. But it's also, there are times of the event that I shouldn't fill. Well, I'm talking specifically about Vale's Edge, because it's going to be so long and people have to sleep. That is one downside to the 50-hour format, is that no player will be able to be there for everything. There's no way. It's physically impossible for for a player to go to all the major story beats. So it's just, that's the one downside. But that's not really a downside to me. That's kind of just a fun perk, because it means that your experiences are much more potent because they're yours. Nobody else is going to get to see those. Hey, Larry. I apologize because I didn't get to the Alliance at War stream that I wanted to today. Just did not happen this morning or this afternoon. It just did not. So I do apologize on that, Larry. It will probably happen Tuesday. I hope. My scheduling is becoming nightmarish because of how harvest has begun. And in my area and with my job, that means crazy hours. I don't do harvest. I'm not a farmer or anything, but I do work on farm equipment, specifically grain bins and grain legs, which are a rather big component of the farming community. If you can't, move the grain into the grain bin, or the grain bin fans aren't working and you have wet corn, those are really bad things. So there's a lot of frantic calls this time of year about bin motors and augers and all that kind of stuff. So my schedule's always terrible, but it's even worse right now. Wait 6 days, the update will arrive. Yeah, I need to get the DS1. You don't understand how much I want the Death Star before I quit that game, just because it's a Death Star, man. I gotta have it. And then I'm gonna do a Rebel playthrough because I want to get a Rebel perspective, because I do feel like at GCW events I typically lean very Imperial. Most of the time at GCW it's because the Imperial side of the event always needs more help, because making an Imperial storyline is harder than just making a Rebel storyline, because the Rebels, you can go, okay, yeah, go blow up something Imperial over there, but you can't really do that with the Empire as well and still make it interesting. And so I try to do more Imperial characters and more Imperial-based things for the Rebels to interact with too. I mean, it's not just the Imperial side, but if you have more Imperial targets, the Rebels have more stuff to interact with. And I have realized that I've kind of gotten away from the Rebels a little bit, which I'm kind of glad that the Operation Firebird test went with the Rebels, because it gives the Rebels a little bit more of a unique thing to play with. Which, on that Operation Firebird, if you're not aware, Operation Firebird is a in-between event operation that we are experimenting with, where players can volunteer themselves and have the potential to, it's basically like a small D&D game where they have the potential to get injured or get rewards and stuff, but it's in between events, stuff that we can't simulate in our limited capacities, like spaceships or boarding parties or anti-gravity, anything that is sci-fi enough that we can't replicate are things that we can try to mess with in this in between phase. The rebels have girls in metal bikinis. The Imperials do not. Feels like whatever cantina that is at is where people are going to end up going. Which is a discussion I was having today with myself, and I was looking at the map because there's been this discussion recently about a GCW is the cantina and the casino going to go back together. It's a discussion it's an ongoing discussion, and I was sitting there and I was debating this to myself while I was looking at the maps this morning, realizing that even if the cantina and the casino don't merge back together, which I think we're going that way, I think that's the way most people are leaning in the admin chats, and the casino and cantina people are kind of going that way. Again, nothing's official, but we're discussing that, and then I was looking at the map, realizing one of the things we did with the casino was we wanted it to be a place where players with heat could lay low, and I was realizing that no matter which place that is, if the casino's in the original casino place or if it's in the cantina, there's not a great location for that heat interaction, because you're right next to basically Perla and the Empire at all times, and the Bounty Hunters Guild is not that far away. Unlike what we had at Echo's Resolve, where you could just you had to transit the entire field to go check out the casino. It's just like right there. So you get heat in the marketplace, and you just walk to the other side of the street, and then you start removing your heat. It's like, it doesn't quite work as well. But that may mean I get to utilize some more of those buildings out in the woods, but then I'm going to have people to go into those buildings and maintain a presence so they could do the heat removal. And so that it's just this constant back and forth of how the heck this thing's going to work out. I did have some fun last weekend because last weekend I did a video shoot for my upcoming project, Fate's Reckoning, which might become a series. It is a Star Wars themed fan film. I say themed because we do our best with the costuming and like the sets and stuff, but it's very low budget. I tried to shoot everything above the knee so you couldn't see people's shoes because nobody had good shoes on, and I ended up just ignoring that. So everyone's in good costumes, and then there's just tennis shoes because not everyone had shoes. And our prisoner girl, I wasn't going to make her walk barefoot out there in the woods where there's thorn trees and stuff. So that whole thing was kind of, it just kind of hurts a little bit, but at the same time, it keeps me from trying to go too heavy in the editing. But anyway, I had a friend over that came down to help me work on this project, and he's in the GCW community. He walked into my bedroom and just looked around because I have a wall over here. I should do a tour someday. That might be a fun bit. I have a wall over here where I have a rebel section of sticky notes and just things plastered to that part. I have a generic whiteboard set up here with just notes scribbled all over it. And I have an Imperial section of the wall over there with sticky notes, and that's actually a full-on pegboard. And then over there, I just have inspiration hanging up on the walls. And then over there, I just have a bunch of random notes that I've just stuck to the walls, and I've got maps up on the walls and such. And I've just got piles of papers lying about, like over here. This is just a pile of information and stuff that, I don't know why I do it to myself, but I do. So, I don't even remember where I was going with the conversation. That is a big downside to myself. I didn't make a list of things to talk about. I didn't even finish Artie's main question, long-term hopes and dreams. I talked about the hours. That's what I started on. Another long-term thing. So one thing that is probably going to become a bit more of my direction is the overarching story. It's something that's kind of been falling through the cracks lately as we've been trying to, hammer down on the logistics and getting people there and getting the stories to work at the event, that I feel like our in-between events story has fell to the wayside. Like, the story is there, don't get me wrong. Like, the overarching story between the events and everything is still there on paper. Like, the admins know it's there, several of the NPCs know it's there, but the trickle down effect to the players, I feel like it stops and it doesn't go all the way down. So I just it's something that I want to work on more, especially if we have more and more of these planetary garrison events, because I want those events to also be able to do parts of the story that will tie into our main LARP series, especially if we end up with two LARP series events a year, which is a possibility after next year. One of the next year we'll have Veil's Edge, and then we're going to kind of come together as the admin team. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff and see if we can handle two LARPs a year. And I I think we can do it. I think we can do it. But it is going to change how I handle the LARP events myself, because it's going to mean I take a bit of a step back again and focus just on the big pictures, right? I take more of a overarching story perspective rather than helping work with all the little quests, which is kind of a sad thing because I do like working with all the individual quest lines and during the event making sure everything flows together. But I'm considering spending more time between events doing that for each event, coordinating with like the Florida event and the Texas event and the Wisconsin events and all the other little Tennessee or Virginia events or wherever we end up having events, making sure that if a player goes to one event, they still feel like their character and their story takes place during the LARP event. So they're not just, they weren't at a forgotten episode of the show. Kind of like in the Clone Wars, we have those one episodes. You're like, well, that did nothing to the overall story, but I kind of want to keep away from that and get more to everything kind of matters, which is one of the reasons why the Battlefront events never fit with my ideas. I do think the Battlefronts were fun, and we are now starting to go away from that. But the Battlefronts were fun in the aspect of they didn't consist as canon material, so we could just do weird things like at the next Battlefront event, which is what, 3 weeks away, 2 weeks, 3 weeks away. I forget which day it is now. I can't make it. I have too much stuff going on. I am trying to go to Texas, which is for the planetary garrison, but that's a whole nother discussion. But like at that event, we're doing a sort of zombie attempt just to kind of see what would happen with that. To do something a little bit different at the night portion and do a bit of an infection mode, and those are types of things that we wouldn't do during a normal LARP event, but during a Battlefront we would do those just for funsies. A lot of new tests and stuff. Undead Troopers, kind of. We're basically doing generic zombies. If you get tapped out by a zombie, you can join the zombie team type of thing. We have They have a glow bands and stuff to keep track of who's who, and it's a survival game mode essentially for funsies. Hey, Takat, I was talking about you earlier. All good things. All good things. Don't worry about it. That's okay. So yeah, as far as story, this is a topic that's hard to discuss because there's so many different ways to do story. And I adjust the story at GCW every event because I have a general plan roadmap in my head, but I adjust that roadmap every event because of player actions. We can go to the first and second events where I was like, this is the way the Empire is going to go. The Empire is going to be doing all these experiments. We're going to have the Dark Troopers. We're going to have all these experiments. This Empire is going to be focusing so heavily on these experiments that they're not going to be able to focus on the rebels. And the opposite happened. They focused on the rebels so much that they lost the experiments. And so the storylines that I had planned for all those experiments ended up falling to the wayside as they dealt with the rebel stuff. I have stuff planned for like the Hutts, where I have this secret thing for the Hutts to deal with in space, and they're supposed to do stuff on the ground for that. And part of the last event was the hypermatter rock that they were going to try to stabilize and then get off the planet, and that quest line just failed, just completely failed. I'm not even sure where exactly we went wrong with that, but that quest line failed. And that was going to tie into this other storyline thing. but that kind of just fell to the wayside. But that's all stuff that we can again can use at a later event. That's one neat thing. It's like D&D as a DM. You write some story stuff. The players don't interact with it. If the players don't interact with it, you just go, okay, cool. I guess we can use that in 2 or 3 events, and no one's gonna notice. It's a secret, behind the scenes secret. If you don't interact with it at the field, you don't know it exists. So I can take that effort that I've already put into it and just recycle it, which is either good or bad. Uh, as far as story, there is a story beat that's happening in the next. Well, actually, there's one happening in this event at Vale's Edge, that is exciting to me because it's going to represent a shift in the story at large. And then the next year's event, 2027's first event, will be the embodiment of some of the stuff that I've been building up towards. There's going to be the kind of culmination, which is kind of a scary bit because I kind of wrote towards that culmination portion, and we're getting close to that, and I have done a couple bread trails away from that culmination, but I haven't done a ton over there. So there's going to be a part of me next year that's just going to go, what am I going to do? Hey, Fox. How you doing, man? Hi. I'm just sitting here yapping my gums about GCW because, of course, I would. Why wouldn't I? I seem like that is a gigantic part of my life, is just talking about GCW. So much to the point where my coworkers are just like, will you shut up about this GCW Star Wars event? I am trying to recruit as many local people as possible, and there is a chance I have recruited a couple people because of the fan film that I filmed last weekend, which I'm trying to get a trailer up for that so everyone can kind of see some of the stuff that we've done. I haven't got there yet. My schedule hasn't allowed it. Relatable. My friends and family keep telling me I'm over talking. A GCW is a lifestyle. It's not just an event. We're not a cult. We have cults in the event, but we're not a cult. The Mountain Gun would like to speak with you. That is a story beat I would like to talk about. The Cult of Mal Gun. For those that don't know, the Cult of Mal Gun is a experimental faction that only exists at Mauston 3, so in the Wisconsin field. The cult is started off as a helmet, and the whole reason I did this was because I wanted to see what players would do if they picked up an item and it said bind on pickup. And I was just kind of, red card? Why do you give me a red card? Hi, Chris. The cult came out of this idea. It was like, what happens if you do like this item that says bind on pickup? One, would players read the notes on the helmet, and would they interact with it? Would they do stuff about it? And they never talk about Malgun. I'm not in costume today. I don't exist in the GCW universe. I found the faction, and now I'm going to be using it to recruit members. Careful what you wish for. It was just this idea that I wanted to play around with, and then the players actually interact with it. There were some hiccups. There were definitely some hiccups and some learning steps. And then the next event at Mauston, we did the cult as an actual fully fledged sub faction that hides in the shadows. And while it still didn't quite work the way we wanted it to work, nobody ever really got recruited and anything didn't really happen. But the couple members that we had were able to do enough things to kind of keep the mystery of the cult alive and working on it. And I'm looking forward to see what we do next time, because with 2 nights to play with at Vale's Edge means that there are definitely more times that the cults can be interacting with people and using the darkness to hide their faces. The downside is all the players are going to try to do the exact same thing, so it's probably not going to work out, but it could be fun. Find the factions. It's the game I made for GCW. Are you going to make it to Rhaegar? I am supposed to. I am 90% sure I'm going to Rhaegar. The plan at Rhaegar for myself is I will be attending the first day, and my goal is to not put myself in a position where I have to do a ton of stuff. The plan is to try to play some of the game with the players, or just kind of do some NPC stuff with some of the local guys and let them handle all the important bits, so they get their spotlight and they get their chance to shine. While I just kind of stay in the background and have some fun. There is going to be, at some point, there is going to be a trio of people that go around the field together. I don't know what we're doing, but I want to go out with Liana and Recklin, since we're all three supposed to be there, and the trio of us are going to go do something together, because we have never gotten the three of us to go do something together, and I feel like just the trio of us, between Liana, Recklin, and myself, it would just be either straight chaos or it's just going to be funny. I don't know. I want to do that so bad. But I do plan on being there. And then the second day, we are looking at doing some filming. I don't have a script yet, but we're looking at doing another fan film day, GCW film day, on the Sunday, since we only are doing one day of play at Rhaegar. Go cause conflict between the factions. Oh, absolutely. It might not even be conflict between the factions. It's probably just going to be just us doing conflict with each other, which then somehow boils over into getting factions involved, if I had to guess. You didn't miss anything important to Cat. It's just me talking. It is literally just me talking. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just talking. Anything else GCW related you want me to discuss here? No, wait, that's... Yeah, the chat's over there. Yeah, there's a chat over here now. That's my fingers too far. There's the chat. Go get the chat. Say something. Do words. But yeah, Rhaegar. Actually, we have a meeting in an hour and a half for Rhaegar. You mentioned something about you. Was it bad? Oh, it was terrible. It was awful. No, I just mentioned how you walked into my room last week into Cat, and we're just going, there's a lot of stuff on the walls around here. Do something, word. Do something. I'm going to go look weird here soon, because, just complete side note, I have a Jack Sparrow cosplay that I do, a Captain Jack Sparrow cosplay. And here soon I will be doing the Captain Jack Sparrow for a local wine fest. And I might be getting to do it for work, which would be awesome because I get paid for it. But I'm going to have to trim all of this down, which is why I've let it all grow. I'm going to trim it down, get the little sour patch to stick out, and just go straight Captain Jack Sparrow facial hair, which is what I'll probably end up having at Rhaegar, which is just going to be weird because I've never been to a GCW event with facial hair. There's a lot of stuff on the walls. Yeah, there is. And it's honestly, to Kat, it's kind of grown since you were here. I took down like 2 sticky notes and then did the notes that were on the sticky notes and have added a bunch since then. He's in the walls. He's in the walls. Let's see, what else do you think we can talk about? I didn't make a list of things to talk about. Let me just open up Discord. Pull up Discord. What should I talk about in GCW? Because I could just sit here and just talk about myself for 3 hours, and that's not going to fly. Planetary Garrison. Oh, that's discussion. What else we talk about? Do something. Say something. This is the part that I always fear. Because I usually start talking about story stuff. You get the clan Vulpin signal painted onto my armor. Next milestone one. I kind of touched on the next milestone one, Veil's Edge. How will hollow pucks be used for quests at story LARPs? That is a discussion, Chris, that I don't think we've finished, because the biggest question that I have for you is how durable are they? Are they something that we are going to allow players to actually interact with, or are we going to set them up and have players walk by and look at them? I'm assuming it's go by and look at them, because if we have them go by and look at them, because you have like, what is it? I think about 2 hours of footage that I can put on those. Oh, I have plans for those. There are going to be, there's going to be some video stuff that second one. Okay, that's why I figured it was that way. So one of the ideas that I have is if you've ever played like SWTOR, for example, where you go through and you just find a quest that's part of a data pad, like on the ground, it says we were on this mission to do this thing. All of our stuff have died or failed. We've had to fall back, or maybe this is a transmission that didn't reach the intended target. We need you to go find such and such item, such and such person. Do that. And so I would love to have just one of those set up like in the town that is just spurting that quest out every once in a while. There's also, I'm going to attempt to make a whole bunch, and I've started doing this BHN video that will be just a loop video for those holopucks too when they're not being used for other things. We can just set them up and you can just walk by and there's going to be a talking face. At least every faction and sub-faction will have their own holopuck at Veil's Edge. Oh. I gotta make a note. 1 second, you're getting a sticky note. 6mm, you're getting a sticky note. You're getting added to the wall of sticky notes. I didn't realize we were gonna have that many. I thought we only had 2. Alright, you're getting added to the wall. There you go. You need to have the reinforcement force at some point of the event. We did kind of a reinforcement mission at Echo's Resolve, which might happen again. It was kind of a fun little side piece where we had set up, we're like, okay, anybody that does not play Imperial, that has an Imperial costume, please come and do an Imperial for like an hour and a half. And we're going to have a specialized mission for those people to come in as Imperials and to do Imperial stuff. It ended up being more of a gaggle of regular Imperials mixed in with a few other non-Imperials that were wearing Imperial costumes. But it ended up being just fine. It ended up doing exactly what I wanted to do, which was this Imperial mission that felt very potent. I mean, I was on the receiving end of it, which was actually really fun. I was my Perla Inspector Diggory Sky character, and I don't know how I said the amount of words that I said as fast as I did and didn't stutter, because that is something that I struggle with on this all the time, where I go and I do this, where I don't know what to say, and for some reason in that moment, because I was yelling at the cat specifically, Sergeant Darkstar, I was yelling at him. And I don't know how we kept this level of banter going, but it was great. Stuff like that is fun to do, but it takes it's a logistical nightmare sometimes to get everybody on the same page to do stuff like that. I wish that I could do the video game thing where I had like 10 people on standby at all times that I could go, okay, now you wear an Imperial costume, go help the Empire, come back in an hour, and go, or say like, go do a rebel insurgency and go do a rebel attack somewhere to spice things up, or go wear a Pike costume, go wear a Malgun costume, go wear a Perla costume. We constantly have this idea where we're going to have that sort of faction. There's always been this idea of that, and it's never translated to a functional element on the field, because I was supposed to have about a dozen of the guys that were going to do the Imperial Super Commandos, and they were also going to do Bulvosi and Pike and such. And when we got to the field, I think we had 3 of them, maybe 4 of them. And so the rotation effect of having constant Bulvosi or constant Stormtrooper or Super Commandos or stuff like that never worked out, which was kind of slightly disappointing, because we could do cool bits. We did some stuff with the Pikes, and everybody was really excited to see the Pikes come back, but we never had the ability to send more Pikes on the field to finish that storyline. So that storyline had this great rise and then never finished, which is so unsatisfying for the players and myself. Throw together a janky wardrobe and offer credit to players at random. That's probably going to happen now that the Space Force is. Oh, we lost a sticky note. That's probably going to be a thing now that we're going to have a spaceport. That spaceport element at Echo's Resolve is going to become a functional hub from now on. I've decided that that was great. It worked out. Well, I just need like 2 people to be there with me at all times to man radios and man quests and such. They we're going to do that, and also if I end up doing the U-Haul that I am planning on doing, I will be able to bring more costumes with me. Last event, I only was able to bring through like 2 or 3 totes of costumes, and they were all already slated for rolls. I do have, shoot, I think I have 5 totes, if not 6 totes of costume pieces now that can be used. We always have costume bits ready to be used. It's just a matter of getting people to fill them. And I think that's going to be a thing we're going to do more of at Veil's Edge, especially for me anyway, because I have specific roles that I want to see people fill. I assume they just assume they scared them off. Yeah, I mean that's kind of where the players went with the story. That's kind of the natural assumption at that point. But it still would have been way better if we could have had the Pikes come back, because the players were preparing themselves for that eventuality to have the Pikes come back, and it would have been a really cool experience to have Perla be there and the Pikes were coming back in, and this interactions that they've already had would have been really cool. We didn't get that. Next event, we're gonna have a ton of gang influence with Perla and stuff. I'm envisioning that road around the marketplace is going to get very. It's going to become like a cowboy town on that road. I feel like there's going to be a lot of just stare downs happening across the road, because Perla is pretty much going to maintain their position inside the marketplace, and just kind of fortify in there while the gangs happen outside, and then the Empire and Rebels happen outside of that. So poor Perla is going to be stuck inside this onion of faction fights, and they're the one person who doesn't really have a beef with anybody specifically, but almost everybody's going to have beef with them for some reason because they're just going to be there. I kind of want to do a little bit more with that. If I had like 2 or 3 more Perla guys, or at the very least some sort of like way to assist the Perla better, because I'm kind of concerned that the Perla guys are going to just get overwhelmed, and I don't want that to happen. Perla deserves it. Excuse me, Sergeant. Where else are you going to buy all your equipment? I'll do immersion play room between the factions trying to gain credits. Don't think we'll have time for all. Exactly. Yeah, you will never have time for it all. And so trying to balance all of this out. Like I have a spreadsheet currently. I forget how long it is. That is just it's the start of the schedule for Veil's Edge, and I'm just looking at this going, oh, this is going to be challenging. On the one hand, it's going to be exciting once it all happens. Funds on Fox at the moment. Fox is your ISC character, right? I think it is. The Empire. Of course you're going with the Empire. I will say, though, to Kat, you may have a storyline on your hands where the Imperial Chain of Command wishes to discuss things with you after certain propaganda videos have surfaced. Just now unaffiliated. Hey, there's a lot of stuff to do as unaffiliated. There's going to be a lot of stuff to do as unaffiliated. That basically writes itself. I will say, it has been fun. We did some B-roll footage for GCW stuff last weekend. So I have some footage of somebody getting hit and pulling a dead rag. I have some footage of a medical droid and the time limit and stuff. I have footage of a guy using the Bacta sprayer, a guy using Bacta and stuff like that. While in the process of all this, we did a couple little video clips, one of which was the certain sergeant doing a spice something, or rather, I don't know what we call it. He pulls out a spice bag, and the ISB confiscates it, and he pulls out another one, and it was a play off of the old Dare series of no, don't do drugs, but in our cases, don't do spice. And I was sent a message by Imperial Command that said, tell Sergeant Darkstar to meet me in my office uh, for mandatory meetings, and that's gonna have some fun consequences for you, to Cat. No reason. Only thing that'd be better is if we could do that and have Corporal Sloan there. If Corporal Sloan is able to make Veil's Edge, it would just be the icing on the cake to have this interaction with the three of you coming full circle from Echo's Resolve. It would just be funny. Is that going to happen? No. It would be funny. Games of Cantina, bounty hunting, more purely roleplay interactions. Yeah, the bounty hunting section is something I haven't worked on yet for Veil's Edge. It's in the back of my mind. I have some ideas for it. There's some new stuff I want to try out. Who said consequences? It was propaganda. Way better than Sloan's. Hey, I didn't say they were bad consequences. I didn't say they were good consequences. I didn't even say they were consequences. You have just been requested. It's that media. It's that email you get from HR. It just says, "Come to the HR office. We need to talk." And you're like, "Is it a bad talk? Is it a good talk?" You guys can figure that out by then. What type of games in the cantina? And that's something that I'm glad that more people are doing. I'm going to the Garrison event this year. Oh, this is for Rhaegor. Yeah, because, more NPC stuff, not NPC stuff, sorry, immersion stuff that happens, not even immersion stuff, roleplay stuff and stuff that happens at the Garrison events. I'm just constantly do a short podcast during the event, BHN Live. I don't know if I could do. Could I do that? I might be able to do that. I think I could. Could I do that with my phone? I do have a lapel mic. It's not the best of quality, but I could. I could. Sticky note. BHN Live. Then you get swatted by the Empire. Oh, I could set that up. I could totally set that up and have. Oh, that would be funny. That would be really funny. Especially if I could coordinate that with Duma. Her character name was Duma. If we could set that up where I'm working with Duma on something, and it's a sensitive element that pertains to like the Terran family, and I get reported to the Empire, and they come through and shut down the video for me, and then I hand it off to Duma, who then holds it up for the rest of the time and gets my interaction with the Empire. That could be fun. I could do that. I have an Imperial in mind that could do that really well. I wonder what Danny's doing today. Talk to him about that. This is my problem. There's so much stuff you could do. All right, what other GCW stuff to talk about? I do like the BHN Live, though. I'll give you that, Tyler. Find the Faction is a card game. Ping you later. I have seen some people talking about the faction stuff. Or like the faction, but the card games and such. Ooh. Those are some cool cards. That's kind of cool. Win Lord of the Rings LARP. Dude, I've been talking about that for a little while. Not today, but I was discussing it yesterday with some family members where I mentioned that some of my buddies are talking about a Lord of the Rings LARP, and I was like, I want to be orc. I want orc. I want to be orc. I want to be bad guy. I just want to be orc. I want it so bad. Would I have fun as Gondorians or Rohan or Rangers of the North? Yeah, but no. I've done that in D&D. I want to be orc. I just want to be. I don't have the voice necessarily for it, but I love being faceless bad guys. It's so much fun. I learned this at GCW. I've been Malgun. I've been not Perla. I've been Huts. I've been pilots. I've been pikes. It's so much fun to have a faceless. I'm terrible with voices. We ain't had nothing but maggoty meat for 3 stinking days. That was a terrible one. I can't really do the gruff one as much. I need more water. I think I've drank everything around here. I can only do it if I'm doing one GCW Spice update. That's going to be milestone. I have Spice notes on my wall. I want to try to coordinate with a couple other people for some spice stuff because I know somebody makes some edible spice, and I might try to do some stuff with that. Lark Garrison event within the Star of the Empire. Have Clone Wars Civil War stuff together. Actually, not bad on the maggoty bread line. That's why I chose the maggoty bread line because that's like that one higher pitched orc I can do. I'm not so great at any of the other ones. But yeah, I love these cards that you've sent me pictures of. Like I love when people make stuff like this, like Kybers, the game that Liana has made. That I've been the higher picked orcs just as valid. Oh yeah. Well, see, it's the fun thing about orcs. You can do almost anything you want to with orcs. You can just yell and scream and wave your arms around. I can't showcase it here very well, but I have definitely practiced the walk of an orc, the kind of like the scrape of the leg along the ground. The orc that I would do more of, my orc would move more like a Moria orc, which if you haven't seen the movies or you've only seen them once or twice, it's just going to sound weird. But the Moria orcs walk differently than like Mordor orcs or orcs from Isengard. Like they all walk their own specific kind of way, and I've always enjoyed the kind of insect ways of walking. Or goblin, yeah, it gets technically it's goblin in Moria. That's one thing I hated about the Hobbit when they were like, oh, these are orcs. I'm like, there's no orcs. There's no orcs there. There's only goblins. And when HK update, when we start rebuilding HK, you've seen the breastplate for HK to Cat. You were here. We used it in the film. It's not in great shape. There's nothing else to HK. There's HK's head and there's HK's chest piece. Everything else of HK has essentially broken. The arms have broken. The legs have come apart. It's not great. What about the legs? I don't need them. Yeah. Just a little bit off the flank. Yeah. Yeah. Rip HK. He is sometime when downtime update. What do you mean by that? Like in between event update? Wait, what are you talking about that? What do you mean by downtown update? It's not downtown. We're going downtown to Rhaegar. I love. You get me sidetracked on orcs. Lord of the Rings was my favorite before Star Wars, and it still kind of is. I've just been suckered into Star Wars because of 6mm Mandalorian. It's all his fault. This whole operation is your fault. I can blame you all the time for it. When month long, when not patrolling. Oh, I'm just making stuff up at this point. Okay. That is a... Yeah, when HK plus skirmish hit detection. That's kind of a fun... I know you've been working on that, Mando, but it just... I can't quite picture exactly in my head of how that's going to function and not be either bad or good. It just I can't quite picture how well that's going to play. But it's also kind of exciting because I don't know how exactly it's going to work out. So I'm kind of excited to see it. It's also just going to be the technology behind that is just fascinating to me. So when you're not patrolling as the Empire, part of this is up to your chain of command. There are going to be other things to go do, especially for the Empire. So for the Empire, for the Empire at Vale's Edge, the way we're kind of splitting up the quest design for the Empire is there's going to be separate sections inside the Imperial base that handle different types of quests. So like Your research department will handle research quests, and we're going to try to have people specifically for those quests at specific times. Trying to have like one guy overall, and then have some people that go work underneath of him or her. And we're trying to have an ISB office where you can do ISB quests. And that is all in addition to the main Imperial garrison command system. And so there's going to be different quests that don't actually have to go through the Imperial chain of command, so there's less things that Justin and Jesse have to deal with every 30 seconds. But at the same time, they can go to the chain of command to get like, hey, we need guards for this mission. But there may be missions that you get to go on where you're not specifically guards. Maybe you're part of the research team for a little bit, and your weapons are a secondary thought process. Maybe you're needed to just help gather data or gather info. Maybe you are the test subject. Might be some of those. These are also little sub-factions. Not sub. Well, I guess they're kind of sub-factions that even non-Imperial players might be able to interact with more, as kind of like a small bridge between. When Raincloud get rest update, I have discovered that if I drink, I think it's called Celsius, I don't have to rest. Joke's on you. I could drink one drink of, I think it was called Celsius. I could be wrong. I was playing board games at a friend's like 3 weeks ago, and they handed me this drink and said, here, try this. It's supposed to be like coffee, but you're not supposed to crash afterwards. And I'm like, cool. He had one. I had one. I went home. Everybody else apparently went to sleep, and I was still awake, 14 hours later. So I have discovered that in a pinch, I don't have to sleep. What do Mandos do for the Garrison event? I'm going to be completely honest. I am not certain we're going to have anything that's Mando specific. I think a Mando at the Garrison, I could be wrong. I need to double check that. But I don't think we have any like Mando factions at the. Hey, I can feed myself. Thank you very much. There's picture proof. There is a picture of me eating at the last event. But I don't think that the Mandos have a faction for Rhaegor. I am pretty certain that if you come as a Mando, you're just on your own. You're just an unaffiliated. So you're able to just go into any faction or anything like that. I don't think there's a Mando clan at Rhaegor. I could be incorrect on that. I will write that down into chat about during the meeting here in a little bit. But I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. In the Mando clans, wowzers. I will talk a little bit about Mandalorians in GCW. Y'all make my job difficult sometimes. You know that? There is the lore for Mandos, and I'm talking this specifically from a story perspective. Going into the lore about Mandalorians, in the Baxel sector, in this time period, trying to come up with good logistical reasons for there to be Mandalorian clans, like multiple clans, in this sector doing their own thing is frustrating because there's no lore for it. There's a tiny bit, but there's nothing. And so y'all frustrate me when it comes to creating lore for you guys. when next covert game night update? We need to do another game night. We do. I don't think we played a game for like a month now. We gotta fix that. More docile of a Mandalorian, to be fair. It's just the lore, but surrounding the Mandos that it irritates me at times. Like, I want to do more for the Mandos because you all have these really super cool costumes that you spend all this time and money on, and the story that I can present you that makes sense in the context of the universe is so small in comparison. And so I try to supplement it with other things to make it more interesting, and it still to this day hasn't worked well. It has worked. Like, I know the Mandos have had fun. I know we have done stuff with the Mandos that have worked out, they've enjoyed, and but it hasn't reached the level that I want it to. Um, I want every faction to feel like they have their own storyline and impact in the universe, and the Mandos are one of those that I keep struggling with because it hasn't flowed yet. It hasn't fit. I haven't found that niche for the Mandos because a lot, yeah, and you only ever get the explanation of being murder hobos. That's because some of the Mandos at past events have gone a little trigger happy. It is starting to. I don't crave violence, but don't mess with my friends. Well, I feel like as a Mando, you crave a little bit of violence, just a little bit. I feel like you can't put that bucket on and not crave some violence. Maybe later tonight. Look at some of the last season Rebels. I mean, yeah, the Mandos do some stuff in Rebels, and we are getting close in timeline to some of that stuff. Which again is one of the reasons you go like, why are they out here and not like dealing with the stuff at home? Yeah, like, but that's the thing. Like, all the Mandos should be dealing with that instead of being in Baxel, if unless they don't care about the Mandalorian stuff, and so it kind of for some people's background and their character arcs and stuff. Like, if you put that into context, you will have a little bit of a struggle, but it's nothing game breaking. This is the stuff that I sit up late at night and think about that have almost no bearing on the game because in the end of the day, the game is on the field and not the prep beforehand. Well, they're all based off of Mandalore anymore. At this point in time, they all are supposed to be based off of that area because there are technically a few clans that aren't around Mandalorian planet, um, but they're not like the main thing. If that makes sense. You're trying to get me to hop on Helldivers right now. I have forced myself to not hop on Helldivers in the last like 3 weeks because I know if I get on Helldivers, I'm going to be so invested that I'm not going to sleep that night. What two races make up Uruk-hai? That's a trick question. There's more than two races. Because Uruk-hai are a mix. That's the whole biggest thing about Uruk-hai. Because it's, let's see. You have, they're mixed with, is it men and elf? Because you have men, elf, dwarf? No, it's men, elf. I thought they're mixed with somebody else. I have to go back and look because they're supposed to be abomination. How are they made? You're gonna get me into Lord of the Rings, and that's not what we're talking about. You see that? Nope, nope, nope. You see that? Nope. There it is. There it is. Right there. You see that? Up here. Everything's reversed in this thing, and it's so hard to keep track of where things are. There it is. Up there. That's GCW symbol, not a Lord of the Rings symbol. You want to get me into Lord of the Rings symbol? Make that event happen. It's thought that the original orcs are part elf. There's like that one theory about them being like tortured elves that they make orcs. But I think there's definitely man in the orc for the Uruk-hai. I think I could be incorrect now that I say that because he meant in the book they mention the mixing process a little bit. You're getting me completely off topic, and I hate you for this. It's all your fault. Thought it was canon. Well, I think that it's yeah, the other orcs are. I think so, but that's also in one of the books that I haven't finished because I know that comes up. I'm pretty sure in the Silmarillion, and I started that book like 5 years ago, and then shortly thereafter, I started doing GCW, and I haven't finished the book yet, and it's still on my shelf. I've read like Okay, so you know I can't watch Andor season 2 more than like 30 seconds at a time, and then I get suckered into writing GCW lore. The same thing happens when I try to read the Silmarillion, except I start working on my own fantasy world because I have everything that I've done for GCW, all these notes on the walls, stacks of papers, everything like that. I've done the same thing for my own fantasy books because I have this idea where I'm eventually going to write a novel. I've been trying to write a novel. Back when I started GCW, the novel took a back seat, and I haven't really touched it since, which is kind of sad if I'm being honest, but that's beside the point. Um, and so, like, I would read a page of the Silmarillion, and I would immediately get inspired to go work on my book. It's the same thing that I have with the Andor season 2. It's like I watch just a little bit, and I'm like, oh cool, I can go. I need to use this information while I have it in my head and go do stuff, and it just I hurt myself. I am a broken individual upstairs. My brain don't work. But y'all have gotten me so off topic. We're not even on the same event series anymore. So roll it back in. Has placing the beacon for orbital strike been done? It is hard to do that. We have tried in the past, and we'll try again in the future. It is something that I would love to be able to do correctly, because I would love to have a component of the events where the command staff could mark targets for demolition. This is something that might happen with the skirmish things in the future, because we've been trying to make like destroyable skirmish boxes and stuff that could be maybe destroyed from orbit and such. The downside is it's hard to simulate those. And while we can do it on paper, and the commanders can get to be commanding and calculating where to drop the things and whatnot, the players on the ground, if your admin walks up and just goes, okay, this whole area has been blown up, everyone needs to go back to respawn, it can kind of feel weird. We've done some stuff with like walking around with a speaker that makes TIE fighter sounds and throwing grenades and such to kind of simulate those, and it's really hard. And if it's hard to simulate, I try to stay away from it because I try to do the things that we can simulate well. Drop smoke from a drone. I could do agree with Mandalorian overrepresented in GCW. Besides clones, stay fast in the device. I choose Mandalorian. Yeah, orcs were made from elves. Uruk-hai were orcs plus man. Did you just look that up? What's your favorite? Stop it, John! No, stop it! Stop it! I'm not going to answer that because I will get into a discussion about what era and what type and who's what nation, and I'm just going to shut up and you can just... That's a whole nother discussion, John. You're trying to get me distracted. And it's so easy. And now, 6mm Mando's over here helping you by confirming the orcs are made from elves and Uruk-hai are orcs plus man. So it's technically 3 races kind of wrapped up in one. Like way too much smoke. I don't know how well that would work. I don't know if that does anything with the drone rules. Like the legality of that and stuff, but I get it. So, if you can't tell, I like to yap. I can yap, and I can yap, and I can yap. I can yap about history, specifically World War II. I can yap about medieval history. I can yap about fantasy. I can yap about Star Wars. I can yap about D&D, which is kind of, I also do that in fantasy, about my own book. I can yap about work, the things I do at job sites and electrical construction. I can just yap and yap and yap. My poor father had to deal with this weekend because we went out to a Strategic Air and Space Museum, and the first 2 hours of this museum trip, we looked at 5 planes for 2 hours. We looked at 5 planes, and 2 of them were the same type. They were just different models. I realize that like it's noon, it's time to eat. He's getting hungry, and I'm like, I may need to shut up a little bit. I have way too much information about these planes. But yeah, just try to. I do the same thing in Star Wars and all this other stuff. Any more GCW related comments? I'm gonna go for probably about 20, maybe 30 more minutes, and then I'm going to end the stream. I don't want to make it too long for people that come back in the. I need a Perla flag. You're right. I do need a Perla flag. I need to get flags of all of our sub factions. I need to get a Pike flag. I need to get a Perla flag. I need to get a Hut flag. I need to get. We need to make a Malgun flag, because I've just picked these up. Like, this is just from Amazon. This one a friend gave me, and this one's from Amazon. I also need like a true Rebel flag. This one is just the Jedi flag. I've tried to pick up as many Imperial flags as I can, so I can just hang Imperial flags all over the towns and stuff, because I think that's good. A Lothcat flag, that'd be kind of fun to have too. Honestly, a Lothcat flag would be fun. Predict the total number of player deaths for Firebird. Well, we've had one. Considering what I know coming up, I'll say we'll probably get 4 more. I'll say 5. I'll say 5 total. So I feel about kid ideas. You have a flag. If I get you far enough off topic, then eventually the Lord of the Rings LARP will manifest into reality. Ordo, Lothcat, predict over this, and then question for general chat: is there a good primer resource for what a first timer should expect? So there is what we want you to expect, and then there is reality. I will say this as the person who's been around for all of them, not all of them, but for all the big ones. We want to push. It's like how you play D&D, where everyone thinks when you start D&D you're gonna be that Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring party, and then when you get there, it dissolves into being Monty Python, the Holy Grail, and that's kind of what happens at GCW, where we have this grand idea of stories and all these interconnecting things coming together, and then you get there and you'll just see the admin staff running around like crazy trying to get everybody to get on the field at the right time, and you're 2 hours late because nobody showed up on the right time, nobody went through the briefing, nobody chronoed at the right time, and so we're just struggling and we're getting frustrated and complaining, and we're trying to get people to go, and but in the grand scheme of things, the biggest thing that I would say to prepare yourself. Oh yeah, I kind of like how you say that. Yeah, in the end, it turns out you're not the main character, hero. You think you are, because it's me. I'm already doing it. Okay, you were good the first half there, John. The biggest thing I will say, I want to retouch on that though. The biggest thing, if you've never been to GCW before, is you are not the main character. But at the same time, you are the main character of your story. But the thing to remember is everybody else is telling their own story. And so getting he's John Star Wars. Been an hour, nightly night. See ya, Tyler. Thank you, man. The main character has arrived. Okay, that's fair. There is one exception to that I just said. Unless you are a gonk droid, you get to be the main character. And yeah, remember, player choices matter. That too. You're John GCW. The biggest thing to me is there is story. There are many things happening. It's easy to kind of get overwhelmed as a new player with just the sheer amount of information that you will come across, because there'll be all these different factions. There's all these different people. There have been people that have been to every single different event that we have done, so they have this wealth of information, knowledge, and lore, and there will be these quests happening, and you're not really sure where to start. The biggest thing to do as a brand new player is to be prepared for failure and embrace it. Be prepared for yourself to try to be that cool character, and then you're gonna mess up your words and you're not gonna talk well. Be prepared to try to do a quest and it just doesn't quite work out the way you thought it was going to work out. But then take that failure and make something else out of it. If that makes any sense to you, because if you try to walk in this conversation and you just flub everything, be prepared to just smile and nod and continue on your way, or the quest doesn't work. Hi, hey Piggy. It's just funny, 'cause Piggy. In the first event I saw you, you had a pig. I just think that's funny. Um, it's just be prepared for that failure, because things are going to go wrong with your character, with your story, your quest. You're going to have failure, but that's what makes those successful moments even better. Um, and honestly, from me as well, get involved with the story. Don't be afraid to ask questions like, why are we here? What is happening? What is your story? What planet are we on? Where are we at in the universe? Ask stuff like that, or ask simpler things like, who's in charge of this faction? Um, and then just keep asking questions. Interact with everybody. The more you interact with people around you, the more stuff you'll learn, the more fun you'll have, in my opinion. Be prepared to not engage people. Um, I have a lot of fun just not even carrying a blaster at times and having that extra challenge and immersion of not having a weapon to defend myself, or at the very least keeping it holstered so you're never seen as the aggressor, and having little things. Another thing that I would suggest if you're a brand new player is have a small personal goal. Maybe it's nothing big, nothing grand, nothing heroic. You're not going to save the universe, you're not going to save the planet or anything like that, but have a small goal where you want to raise 1,000 credits, or you want to acquire a medical droid, or you want to do one of these things. You want to do something. Maybe you want to win a game of sabacc. Give yourself a small personal quest to go off and go do, and then you can give yourself a focal point, especially at the beginning of the event, and figure out how you can accomplish it, and then by that point, you have then had your tutorial mission, essentially, and now you know people. You've interacted with a lot of people. There's storylines that you've already come in contact with while doing that other little side quest of your own, and then you can make your decision from there. If that makes sense. And the other thing to remember is I am an admin who has never actually fully played at these events, so everything I say, take with a grain of salt and go ask other players their actual experiences. Because I'm just an admin who has looked at everything from the top down, which may mean that my view is skewed. So, there. How was that? That helpful? Probably not. But I said it anyway. Thank you, Streamlabs, for letting me know that you're bringing live streaming to AI glasses from Meta. Thank you for that little blurb that you had to block my screen with to let me know. Thank you for that. It's super helpful. Anything else GCW-wise that I need to cover? Can't wait to work more on my kit in 2 weeks. I need to work on kits. I'm a terrible costume person. I love to be in costumes. I love to wear costumes. I love to be characters. The talent of making costumes is not something that I have. Well, that's not completely correct. I could probably do more costume creation than I do, but I don't spend enough time learning and working on it. So it might just be a time thing. It might also just be the fact that I don't have the time or talent for it. So, however you want to look at that. Costuming has never been my forte. As a theater kid, I appreciate the chaotic nature of RP elements. All very good info and advice. Going for trooper armor at PGR. I want to be curious technical aspects about skirmish. We will not be using skirmish at Garrison. Garrisons, we don't really bother with skirmish, as far as I'm aware. Another theater kid. Welcome. Also theater kid. I feel like being a theater kid just changes your brain somehow, because almost all kids who are in theater, we're just a little touched in the head, aren't we? We're just a little cuckoo. And I say that as somebody who's been in theater my entire life. It's just there's just something weird about us. But if you're trying to start out with a trooper armor at the beginning, good on you. That's kind of impressive to start off at your first event with some armor. There should be armor for sale as well. If you at Rhaegar, I believe, Kian is going to be there with his armor stuff. So you could buy armor in universe with credits too if you need some stuff. Yeah, we won't be doing skirmish at Rhaegar. We'll be doing some more technical aspects. I don't want to say too much on the technical side of Planetary Garrison Rhaegar because I legitimately am having an admin meeting or staff meeting in the next 45 minutes to discuss technical aspects of Rhaegar. So I do not want to stick my foot in my mouth and tell you guys stuff that we're going to discuss here in a little bit. So I'm just gonna put a pin in that one and say we'll talk about it later. There is a good chance that I will do more of these little episodes in the future. It's kind of a thing that I've been playing around with the idea of in between the normal big podcast episodes where you have like the collaboration stuff. Whenever they're unable to do something like that, I will probably try to do a little episode like this just to have some more interaction with the community. That's something that I feel like we kind of didn't do well in the first couple of years of GCW, and I'm trying to do my best to add some more of that out there. And I'll just do stuff like this, just to give the players that little bit of a, look at these credits. Look at all these credits that I have sitting here. Don't you want these credits? Don't you want to do quests to get all rich like that? I hope that rattling sound isn't too terrible. Just start throwing credits at people. And then the vials and stuff that we're working on. Oh, I never turned on my lamp. What kind of content creator am I? Well, that's fair. Never turned on my lamp. I'm a failure. Okay. Anything else GCW related that you would like me to chat about? If you are coming to this from the future and you have a topic you would like me in GCW to, wow, that didn't come out right. If you are watching this in the future or listening to this in the future and you have a topic that you would like me to just to ramble on about, please comment that in the video description. Not the video description, sorry. Dang, I am really just bad about this. Please leave a comment below the video, and I will try to do that on the next GCW discussion episode. Bad lamp, Dad. This is okay. I will talk about this lamp real quick. This is a really cool lamp, by the way. It's just a base plate with a light on it, and this came from one of my local creators, where she makes these resin things that are just they're clear inside, but they have this out exterior. I got this one, and they just light up, and you can get different variants just light up on there. It's super cool. Hypothetically, can I rob someone for credits at a blaster point, asking for a friend? If I look over and the gonk droid sticks a blaster out of that little box, I'm giving you my credits. I'm just going to be honest. In the rules, credits are not lootable. That does not mean that you cannot extort them. You can 100% threaten somebody's life and then eliminate them if they have not given you the credits. However, if you do eliminate them, you are not able to loot the credits from their body. You can take anything else with a purple sticker, but you are not able to loot the credits from the deceased individual. But you are 100% able to point a gun at them, a blaster at them, and then remove the credits from their possession if they are willingly giving them to you. There. You can just keep that. Get that for yourself. DC-17M is. Oh, I know what DC-17M is. Make one with a bison. One of my friends made a blaster out of a bison. He removed parts of the top of it to make it look more Star Wars-y, and it actually worked out fairly well, especially for our early events. But he never did anything else with it because he hasn't been back since. I feel like though, Piggy, if you just walked up to a player and opened the drawer on the Gonk droid, and there's just a note there that says "Give me credits," there's probably a higher than 50% chance that people are going to drop credits in that drawer. I'm just throwing that out there. Make a nice mental note of this. I'm not sure I want to be giving the Gonk droids want to give the Gonk droid more ideas and power. I feel like that's a dangerous, dangerous idea. However, hilarious. One thing that you could do that would be kind of funny is you have a they give you credits and you just spit out something at them. So like you have like the stickers and stuff inside because you've kind of already done this, but then you tell them that there's a chance that they could get a higher reward. Maybe you have like a little spinny wheel on the side or inside that you can spin the wheel and see if they achieve the higher reward, and you just become a wandering lottery machine. You put like the little rolling ball thing inside, like the bingo thing, and say like you pick a number and you roll the thing and pull out the ball with the number on it, and you just spit that out and see if they win or not. That would be kind of funny. A wandering gonk that's a lottery machine would be rather hilarious to interact with. B3 becomes a lottery machine. It would just be funny. It would just be funny to just look down the road and here comes the lottery machine. Gonk gambling. Oh, man. Well, on that subject, and vending machine, yes. Gonk is a vending machine as well. That was the first video I saw of the Gonk, was the Gonk opening the bay up, and there was a granola bar in that. I thought that was the best thing. I also knew at that moment that Liana was going to get the Gonk droid to follow me around at some point in the future and try to shove food at me. And I've so far been able to dodge those teams. However, I also know that at Vale's Edge, there's going to be a team of people that I will probably not be able to dodge, who are going to attempt to force feed me food because they think I don't eat. The Misadventures of Betty, yes, the video that started it all. Okay, last call for GCW topics to be rambling about, for me to ramble about specifically. This is your last call. I gave you guys 8 minutes. I don't want to just sit here and just chat forever and ever. What did I put as the ending screen on this? I didn't make an ending screen, but I still have one sitting here. Is it a video or is it just an ending screen? I don't remember. I've quit using this channel for my gaming live streams. I now have a specific gaming channel for my gaming adventures, and so all my streaming has been shifting over there, and I kind of forgot what I had on this one. Would you like to see a profile at Rhaegar? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by a profile? Like a character sheet? Profile? Like a character profile? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. A porg. Oh. Of course. Auto incorrect got me. I was like, what do you mean? A porg? I believe somebody brought a stuffed porg at one of the events. I don't think I've seen it though. I think I saw a picture of it, but I don't think I ever got to see it specifically. Careful, if you bring a stuffed animal out to a Texas event, there is a less than 0% chance that certain people will try to shoot you for the stuffed animal and then will parade themselves around the event with said stuffed animal. As somebody who has brought a pig, not pig, sorry, that was Piggy. Piggy brought the pig, I brought the cow, and before the event even started, they had stolen my cow and her pig like right after the event started. It was the entire event just trying to get that animal back. It was hilariously awesome. Will there be food at Raygor? Yes, in some capacity. Um, I know. Let me double check super quickly, but I'm 90% certain that we have people coming with food, either for credits or for real money, one of the two. I think it's all for credits. I think so because I believe. Where's that at? Where is that? There it is. Cantina staffing. Um. Yes, Raygor. Yes, there is people coming to Raygor with food items. I don't know exactly what all they're bringing, how much, costs, that sort of thing, but there is going to be food options there. No, the pork is mine. It's not lootable. It is. If you want something lootable, just ask one of us for a purple sticker. We will stick a purple sticker on it, and it will become an entire adventure. Just keeping that item with you. It's so fun sometimes. At past events, we've had a couple of alien babies. They're about not like that big, and they come in a little carrier. And the hilarious things that happen with those poor little babies. I got to watch a group of Mandalorians being all big and tough, trying to convince this this mother to give up the alien child to their protection so they could get the child off world. And they're all in the cantina with their helmets off, basically pleading with this woman to give up the child, and she is role playing it so well that it was just so funny to see the big tough Mandos be like, please, like we're not trying to steal the kid. We just want to keep the kid safe. And, oh, it was so funny, so funny. And then the whole allegations at the last event where um, they thought that the babies were being exposed to spice, and so there was a whole discussion and possibly a raid about the children, and it was so funny. Like stuffed animals at our events, you would think would just be a side piece, but for some reason we end up putting them in the main center of focus for different storylines, and it's just fun. It's just fun. Any other topics? Let me just scroll through here real quick. There is. Nope. Nothing there to talk about. I don't know why I opened up the meme page. That was not necessary. There's nothing useful to talk about in the meme section. Nope. I don't think so. All right. I think we're gonna wrap up for this episode of the Lex. I just started calling this a Let's Talk GCW series, where I should just call it Let's, or I'm gonna ramble about GCW. Maybe that should be the title of these videos. But thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for listening to me rambling on and on and on and nonstop and not shutting up. And I am looking forward to seeing all of you guys at our next GCW events. We have Battlefront Boston, which will be the last Battlefront event, and that is coming up here in October. The first weekend of November, we'll have Planetary Garrison Raygor, and then it looks like first or second weekend of January, I believe, is going to be the next Florida event as well. And of course, next April in Wisconsin, we will be having the big 50-hour long event called Vale's Edge, which will be our LARP heavy event for the year next year. And I hope to see you guys. I will actually hopefully see some of you guys at Raygor. I will not be able to see you guys at Battlefront Malston, but please do remember to take pictures and videos so I can see everything. And we always need more of those as well. So, toodles! Let's see what the ending screen looks like.